The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Ads with Simon Pound from simonpound.com.
And indeed, we're talking with Simon Pound, the wonderful, weird and marvellous world of advertising. Hello to you, Simon.
Hello, sir. I thought you were just introing me as wonderful, weird Simon Pound. Advertising, there's a lot of, it's a lovely thing where all around the world there's millions of creative, interesting people making fun stuff every week. And then you get to go and have a look on some blogs and look on some advertising sites and find some cool stuff. Some of the coolest stuff this week, one is an ad from McDonald's in France. And it's a really challenging, thought-provoking, clever story. What happens is that there's a guy who is sitting in a McDonald's restaurant and family dining restaurant, and he's looking at a school photo and he's on his cell phone talking to his partner from school, and he's kind of rubbing the photo affectionately and saying, "Oh, I've got to go, I miss you too, I love you, or I've got to go, Dad's here." And then the dad picks up the picture and he says, "Oh, is this your class photo? Oh, when I was younger, I was a real ladies' man. You know, yeah, too bad your class is all boys." And then he says to the son, you know, it's a shame because you could have had all the girls. And then the son gives the dad this look of just not really, it's really beautifully acted. He gives them this look of almost pity that he just won't understand, and it's just they're not quite connecting, and it's just a really lovely ad. What did you think of it, Will? You've had a chance to have a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a brave step for McDonald's to go down that line, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's lovely. And the tagline, like the concept of it is "come as you are." So there's a whole bunch of other ads in the series that have like a mother with kids who's really stressed and other kind of real life situations. And so they're kind of trying to say that McDonald's is, you know, it's good for everyone and it's always good no matter what. And it's got room for everyone. And it's like, maybe it's like the democratic restaurant or something. I don't know, but it's heaps cooler than their other approaches of trying to advertise and influence tiny children, which is something else we looked at the show last night, which will be on tonight. About all the ways that McDonald's tries to influence kids that can barely read, and they aren't nearly so interesting. So this is an ad I really approve of. But it's led to some other people talking about it, like Bill O'Reilly on Fox News. He asked if Macca's were doing a gay ad, when were they going to do an Al-Qaeda one?
Let's play that clip now.
Fast food world. All right, so look, they want to make a political statement selling burgers. They're entitled to it. It'll never run in the USA. They never do that.
Part of an overreaching campaign called Come As You Are, which you saw at the end there. So they show people in different walks of life. This happens to be their gay-friendly ad.
Do they have an Al-Qaeda ad? You know,
maybe that's
Come As You Are, and you know.
And how do you know it's not coming to the States?
I don't know. I
never say never.
No, that will not. I guarantee you that will not run here.
Typical O'Reilly.
Bill O'Reilly, and it's just, he's so calm. He's like, do they have an Al-Qaeda one? Well, Come As You Are, boom, he says, you know, boom. Anyway, while on Moral Panic, there was an ad in Australia that's got lots of people talking. It played during Underbelly the other week, and Underbelly, of course, is pretty famous for being a pretty out there show. There's sex, drugs, death, violence, nudity, basically all the good things. An ad for this thing called Ashley Madison played in the middle, and if people aren't familiar with what Ashley Madison is, it's a dating website that is an internet connection site that's aimed to help people who are married or in relationships meet each other so they can have affairs. And so this ad played, and it's got really bad production values. It's really cheesy. It looks like Red Shoe Diaries, except as if shot like by a high school media studies class. The titles are bad. It's a terribly made ad. The music's really cheesy, and the tagline is Ashley Madison, life is short, have an affair. And then it's got a thing where the O falls out like a ring falling over, which is quite a clever logo on the back of a pretty crappy ad. But it caused all kinds of drama, all kinds of people complaining and talking about the end of the moral world and all this kind of stuff. It ended up getting reclassified, so it can only show between 11 at night and 5 in the morning, and it can then show through religious occasions or sports matches. Not quite sure why those two things are linked in Australia. But so that's an ad that's got a lot of people talking over there, and the whole Ashley Madison concept has got people talking, which of course they will be absolutely stoked about with their $5.50 ad. Meanwhile, there was a thing, a viral popped out. Although viral is a word that many in advertising hate, it's what they're calling it, so we'll call it a viral. It purported to show an extreme sport, and in the first 30 seconds of it, it really hit all of the formats and styles of an extreme sports video. So the first 30 seconds, you're like, wow, what's happening here? And the way they did it, they got actual extreme sports stars to introduce, through the kind of interview style and all of the styles of the extreme sport video, a new sport where they called liquid mountaineering, which is them running fast on land and then getting to the water and trying to take as many steps as they can on the water before they sink. And it's only after you've watched about 15 seconds, you're like, what is this? And then you start to wonder if it's nonsense. And then about halfway through, there's a wee bit that tells you what it is about, where they say, you know, the reason we found this is that we found these shoes that were water repellent, and they're high-tech shoes. And so it was, in fact, a high-tech advertisement. But it was so cleverly done, and if you've ever watched a snowboarding video or a base jumping video or anything extreme sportsy, you'll watch this and you'll love the way that they've picked all the conventions. Very clever ad. It ended up, it's had 4.5 million views so far, which is pretty good for something that becomes very obviously fake very quickly. It's a good joke. Making of popped out last week, where the ad makers said that their brief was very simple from high tech. All it was meant to do was they were meant to make them famous. And with all of those views, it looks like it's worked.
Achieve the ends, yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, a rebuttal, somewhat, would you call this a rebuttal to the Chrome ad that we talked about a few weeks ago?
Oh, yes. One last thing, the wonderful Chrome speed ads, where they demonstrated how fast the Google Chrome browser was at answering a search inquiry by doing vaguely associated but intensely arbitrary things. Like you'd push go on the search thing for a potato French fries recipe, and then they made this amazing mousetrap where a potato would like fly through a tennis racket type thing and then go into a thing of oil. And it was all spectacular, but arbitrary and just quite nonsensical. And so Opera, one of their competitors, have made a brilliant minute-long spoof ad. It's been around for a couple of weeks now, but it's spoofed everything in that original nonsensical concept. And so they end up getting a potato and doing the whole kind of like mousetrap, everything hits at once, perfect synchronized activity thing, all the slow-mos, all of that stuff. And then they sit there and wait for 15 minutes for the thing to boil.
It's fantastic. Kind of tells the truth of it all really as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, well done.
Simon Pound, simonpound.com. Thanks so much for the ad feature. We'll talk to you next week.
Good man. Cheers, Mo.